otherwise, welcome. Want to welcome you guys all here today, and really as kind of a niche topic here, but something that's so important for Indiana Audubon. And one of the reasons that we're here is just looking at the untapped generosity that we have in not only Indiana Audubon members, but the birding community as a whole. And for Indiana Audubon, we got kind of a special distinction is we just celebrated 125 years. And so our mission is engaging the public in education, conservation, and research. And so there's a lot of different projects that take place over the course of the year. And it's really so much of this is due to members like you that are either here watching live or watching the recording on wanting to be able to help out Indiana Audubon, support these projects in so many different ways in doing it. And we're not here today actually asking folks to write checks because there's so many different ways that you can give and support the different bird projects that we're hoping to share today with a specific one on how we fundraise and some of our special events and auctions that we'll talk about here shortly. But I just wanted to mention, in terms of looking at the kind of giving and support for Indiana Audubon's projects that we have, last year in individual donations, we'll tell you we had about $65,000 in individual donations, and half of that comes specifically from fundraising events such as silent auctions and raffles. And so these are gifts that folks are getting, and they're getting something back, and it may be the fair market value, maybe more, maybe less. But these sort of events rolled into a nonprofit organization have really large impact in the different projects and programs that you see. And so if you're going to a silent auction website from an organization such as a Humane Society or an Audubon that you support, and you see something like that, that's a full support donation that goes to that organization through these different solicitation of items that they're able to offer. So there isn't necessarily an in-kind purchase that has to be made by the organization. So really, when you make a purchase in a silent auction, you are really supporting that organization 100%. And just looking in the last year, as we've celebrated 125 years of Indiana Audubon, a lot of our silent auctions and raffles have supported a lot of different projects. And one you've probably seen is Indiana Young Birding Network. So operates around the state to excite kids into birds and birding topics. And a big part of that is the Indiana Dunes Birding Festival's Youth and Family Birding Day. And this has been completely supported through our Mumford and Keller grant program since its inception. And so every year there's 400 to 500 families that total people within families that are visiting the Dune State Park and now the Douglas Center in Miller Woods to kind of engage in different community folks and not only youth, but the family as a whole. Should also mention while we're up there is a lot of the research projects that you see Indiana Audubon do. And so whether they're the spring longshore flight counts or our inaugural fall waterbird survey, these things are all supported through donations and grants to keep them going. In the spring, we've had a well-known marsh monitoring program. And so around the state, we're able to detect where these secretive marsh birds are. We're looking at the habitat, look at where there's openings, what type of vegetation's in there. And we're able to use that information then to advise landowners on how to manage their land. So if they want king rail, we can tell them, hey, you need more openings. You need some muddy spots within that wetland. If you want sora, if you want black rail, we can advise on those. And so some groundbreaking stuff's being done with Bethany right there is actually collecting DNA from the water. So they're able to analyze that and see what different animals have been utilizing that wetland even after they've passed on by. Our Mumford and Keller Grants and Scholarship Program is fully funded through these fundraising programs that you see. And so there's a grant application process that occurs every fall. And last year, almost $15,000 was awarded. And so this really expands not only Indiana Audubon's reach, but your own reach, your individual contribution on where we're able to take these dollars and have the largest impact. And so this is a young birders club in Northern Colombia, in the Santa Marta region of Northern Colombia. It's called Alas para el Futuro. And basically what they're doing is not just inspiring kids to be birders and then, want to conserve the land around them, but teaching them about possible careers in birding and bird guiding in these areas that are bird ecological hotspots. And so that's just, going back to the local economy and showing them these alternative ways of making a living. And so it was great last year that we were able to support this program. We supported some bird collision. If you go to the Falls of the Ohio Foundation, you'll see these brand new bird deterrents all around the building there. And so that was a great project. Clifty Falls has brand new chimney swift towers. And we saw just an assortment of other projects too that are all funded through this. And so whether it's here locally or internationally, Indiana Audubon members in their donations and silent auctions through our grants and scholarship program are able to have a big impact. And of course, yeah, it's always worth mentioning some of the more popular projects that we have that are also supported through the different work that members do in our auctions. And so Project Owlnet now is going on 15 years strong. And I think they banded the 700th saw-whet owl this year. And so that is something that's completely volunteer and donation based. And it's been that way for 15 years now. And there's, I think we've calculated there's been about 8,000 folks over 15 years that have taken part in the program, whether they watched it or been part of a classroom presentation. And lastly, I'll kind of mention the last one is that we heard it last year, but Chasing Melody is the new Modus networked, technologically kind of integrated research project that'll study wood thrush movements across their entire species range. Specifically, Chasing Melody will support it here in Indiana. And your donations, whether through a silent auction or an individual gift, can help support projects like that. And so the two big ones that we have are the Indiana Audubon Spring Gathering. This takes place in early May at the Mary Gray Bird Sanctuary. May 4th, there's always an auction and a raffle that's part of that event. And then shortly right after that, we segue right into the Indiana Dunes Birding Festival. And the Dunes Birding Festival silent auction is like the spring one, is in person and online, so you don't have to be at the event to actually bid on an item, and items can get shipped to you. It's a great big one, so there's a lot of great birding related optics and apparel and artwork. And so if you love birds, you're going to love the stuff that's in that auction. And if you haven't been to the Dunes Festival, so registration starts on March 1st, and it is well, which is it? A 10-year festival in the southern tip of Lake Michigan. It's either a bird diversity explosion, it's a music festival but for birds, or it's a community of conservation. Now, obviously, if you answered all of them, that's exactly what it is. And so going into the 10th year anniversary for the event, that event alone celebrates the dunes' rich biodiversity and bird watching opportunities while having a positive impact on the local economies. And so with around 1,100 folks that attended the festival last year, it is a large audience that wants to learn about birds and wants to give. And so there's a lot of ways that we can support them. And if you have a further desire to help impact the birds in Indiana Audubon, helping with our silent auction and fundraising is a great way to do that. And so one of the things I want to introduce with me is our development chair, Mona Clayton, who's been development chair for just over a year now. And we've seen large increases in the different donation categories and ways that basically then we've been able to translate that to the programs and projects. And Mona's been instrumental in helping out with some of the different silent auction soliciting and how individuals, just everyday folks, it's not just looking, in your back shelves and seeing if you got an old pair of binoculars, but there's really simple things you can do with a couple clicks a day to actually help support Indiana Audubon without, continuing to write a check yourself. And so with that, I want to introduce Mona and our development committee that we have for Indiana Audubon.
Hello, so here I am, and I am wearing sunglasses inside. I got a little light sensitivity from an accident a few months ago, so please bear with me and have some grace on that, and we'll get through this. And you might find out a little, you might hear a few little stutters in my voice, and that's just a few things left over from that accident, but making improvements every day. So let's talk here about the silent auctions, how we can do this. It's very easy. I've done this for other organizations other than Indiana Audubon. So I've got some experience with it. And when we started doing auctions, we talked about it last year, then we just expanded and ended up having 4 silent auctions last year, which funded a lot of the things that Brad talked about. Setting records with how much they were able to, Indiana Audubon was able to allocate to Mumford Keller grants to do projects, and as well as to fund programming at Mary Gray with their special days they have with the Spring Gathering and the Hummingbird Festival, among other things. So Brad, let's go ahead and go to the next slide here, if you can help me with that. Maybe you can just hit down.
Yep.
There we go.
There it is.
Okay. Yeah. So, what have we learned from doing these silent auctions? You just have to fill out the form or ask them, and the majority of entities or folks will say yes. And again, I already mentioned it was historically done at the Dunes Birding Festival, and we expanded our silent auction offerings. It didn't seem like there was much silent auction fatigue because pretty much everything sold, and we had a variety of different things across multiple price points, which we'll get to in a moment. But what really ignited me on spending time with the silent auction was that when I attended my first Indiana Dunes Birding Festival in 2022, and I took a look at the auction items, and there was nothing that I would want to take home with me, and there was nothing that I would want to even give to anyone. And I like bird stuff, and I have plenty of bird feeders, but I really didn't need more stuff. So I really focused on experiences because, hey, people are going to go out to eat. People are going to go to, if you've got family, kids, grandkids, you're going to do stuff with them. You might go to a ball game. You might go to Holiday World. You might go, to do a special birthday party somewhere at Top Golf. So I was all in on the experiences, and I infected Brad with it too. And so then Brad was able to reach out to some of his friends where he had some great relationships, and we we had some great experiences there. We had a lot of bird hikes. Almost all of our guides, many of our guides, agreed to be a donor with a bird hike or a birding experience. Several of our sponsors were able to, and they donated things, some of them on experiences as well, and even some guiding companies that weren't there actually donated gift certificates as well. So we were really pleased with what happened with the experiences. And the thing is, with experiences, they're higher value items, right? It's not like you're going to put, a few dollars on a field guide, and which will probably get put in a basket anyways. But there's going to be tickets to the Cincinnati Reds or Holiday World, or to the St. Louis Cardinals. And hopefully we'll be able to get those because we got those before, and we did get a confirmation on Holiday World, so we're good at least on that one. But people are willing to exchange their money for those experiences and even some trips that we were able to procure along the way. So, and I think Brad mentioned, it goes without saying, all these items were donated. So it's a very high ROI. IAS is not allocating any money to buy things to put in the auction, and all my time was volunteer. And I wasn't the only one getting things. We also had an email list and so on, and we'll get to that. So, Brad, I think we can advance on this slide.
Okay.
Okay, so almost anything goes on this, and we've had some even amazing donations. One of our members had several bottles from a California vineyard. And another one of our members, she was downsizing, and she gave all this. We have about 10 or 12 pieces of this beautiful pottery from a potter in Minnesota. We've got field guides already, some art, and a variety of other things. So some stuff are handmade, gift certificates. We even have things on the Amazon wish list, if people want to purchase those, which will then be put in the auction. So like I said, almost anything goes. And so there could be things that you have at home, like, we got this awesome pottery and the wine, as people were they were done with it. It could be some used equipment. We have a lot of members who I know that have upgraded their bridge cameras lately to getting some other camera stuff. And so, maybe we'll see some cameras that'll come in for the auction. But experiences, those are, I don't even have them all here, right? But these are just a few examples. Some we've already talked about, but there might be some, some lodging. Maybe you know somebody who has an Airbnb or a cabin somewhere that they're willing to donate a couple of nights for a getaway weekend. All kinds of entertainment, right? From going to an escape room to checking out the zoo. And many conservation oriented locations are like zoos, for instance, and botanical gardens. They're very willing to share their tickets, and we're very willing to reciprocate with that as well. And so what happens with some of these small items, and we'll, I think our uh, our existing list will have over 100 items. Will we have over 100 auction items? I don't think so, because we'll take things like this and we'll put them in a basket with something else where it makes sense. And we have a volunteer that's very good at that. And so she combines all of that stuff together and curates it so that it's something meaningful um, for the auction winner. But don't put too many filters on, like, oh, they won't be able to use that. No, we'll find a way to use it for sure. We will. I think I saw something on the list. Brad had found a bucket hat from a prior festival that was in the bottom of a box. And I kind of like bucket hats. So I was looking at the this year's Indiana Audubon list to see if there's a bucket hat there. I was like, Brad, where's the bucket hat? He said, oh, that's a bucket hat from a prior festival. So you never know what kind of things will end up on there. Brad, do you have any comments about this? Because you're sort of you're involved with a lot of different things regarding the auction. Do you want to make any comments right now?
Yeah, definitely. Several things came to mind right away, and one is that these ideas where anything can go, and the options for combining it. We just received someone message just a month ago. Hey, I got a blanket. Do you want it? It's an old alpaca blanket. And I said, wait, might it have been from Ecuador? And she said, well, actually it is. And you know what? Joe Smith just donated, the birds of Ecuador field guide. And so, right there is this possibility that we're going to be able to have like an Ecuador themed birding basket with that, maybe some other items. So there's a lot of opportunities for that kind of thing to happen. And if you think about how most of you guys drink coffee, and if you look at how folks have drank coffee through time, first you would actually grow it, and then you maybe grinding it, and then creating the coffee yourselves. Then we go to today, where you actually go and you can get a cup of coffee, and we've moved away from even that, this kind of service economy, and we're really more into an experiential economy today. And that's where not only you go into the coffee shop to get your coffee, but you're getting, the music and the theming and the all of that goes. Think of like Disney, they create that whole experience. And so that is really what people want today. And we see that in Audubon events. They don't just want a field trip. You don't just want to go to the zoo. You want to go to the zoo and you want to have the penguin tour too, right? Where you get back from behind the scenes. And so those things are of high value. And it's amazing how our own local birders have expertises that are or specialty interests that they may be known for, that others really get excited and want to learn more about it too. And so a recent one is we just talked to a fellow who really loves sparrows, and those here may know who this guy might be. And he actually is providing like a morning birding tour, a sparrow pursuit. It comes with this really cool sparrow field guide and a copy of it, the shirt with all the different banding codes for all the sparrows. And it's all this sparrow lovers pursuit experience morning that'll be in one of the upcoming auctions. And honestly, it started with a sparrow book. We got a sparrow book. What can we do with this? And it grew into this big experience that'll help fund. In this case, we were talking about the Chasing Melody program for next year too. So just more ideas when you talked about in kind and experiences, and just how really the possibilities are quite open.
All right, thank you. That's awesome. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Brad, if we can. All right, so now we're going to get to a little bit more of the of the how-tos. So I'll take back to my question, what would you, in this case, what would I like to see in the auction? Because I wasn't going to buy anything that year. And so when I got asked to be development chair, I was all in on finding experiences. So think about, what would you like to see? Maybe you have a certain favorite product or service, a restaurant, things you do, a special place you visit. Maybe there's something in the family business. Maybe there's a guiding service. Maybe there's a certain location. Maybe you hand make things. It's just those are just some ideas. There's a whole array or constellation, but there's something that triggers, like, yeah, that's something I want to make sure that we get. We talked a little bit already about, purging items, but this gets to, like, one person's trash is another person's treasure. And so you just don't know how something can be reworked. And my friend that gave all this pottery, her parents had given that to her, and she kept two pieces for her new home, but the rest, she's like, I'm done with it. They've just been sitting in the cabinet, and I've got the best pieces here that I can remember this from my parents, and I'm ready for this to, be enjoyed by someone else. Just yesterday, I was thinking, I got one of these metal bird things for Christmas. And I haven't put it up yet, as you can tell, but it's an owl. And so what did I do? I wrote to the dude that has Metalbird, and I told, because they already support conservation, and I haven't got a response yet, but I wrote to him, told him, used my template wording from that I already have designed, and ask him to see if he would like to support some conservation with Indiana Audubon. So we'll see what happens. But I've had some luck with that in another situation. I was getting a new binocular harness. I hate those ones with the wide elastic straps. They don't work for me. So I found one, and in my relocation, Brad, I wasn't able, I've left that in my other spot, but it's one of these ultralight binocular harnesses, and I happened to buy mine from a place called Rick Young Outdoors. This is not an endorsement for him, it's just an example. So I do my order, and in the order it has a little comments box, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I took an opportunity to say, hey, blah blah blah, birding festival, I ordered one to donate, just letting you know in case you're inspired. And guess what, I got a message from Rick Outdoors, and he donated a couple harnesses and sent that in my package. So if I wouldn't have asked, I wouldn't have gotten anything. So you can do some of these asks from from the comfort of your home. You don't have to spend all day walking in one business and another business. You can fill out the form that these entities have online, and voila. Um, I put a little note here about, where do your family or friends work or play, because sometimes they can be a source of donations. My husband does stuff at the farmers markets, and we have friends that have a popcorn place. And so I sent them a note and said, hey, blah, 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 birding festival, blah, blah, popcorn. Would you like to donate some? And they said, yeah, sure. As the date gets closer, we'll have some products, and we'll give you some popcorn products. So, and they were happy to do that. But I've done some searching already. We have a Google, we have a how do I say this? We have a spreadsheet on Google Drive that has all the information of where we are so far on the auction. So you're not starting from scratch here. We actually have a list of last year's items that we had in the auction. We have a tab with this year's items. I have a tab where I've done some research, and I have names of entities all the way down, and I do a couple of day. I haven't been able to spend a lot of time online because of this situation I'm dealing with. But I try to do a couple a day for the last couple of weeks. And sometimes we get a response back that day that, yes, here's your gift certificate. Other times it takes longer. Some we're still waiting on, but there's several that respond within 24 hours. Indiana State Fair, Holiday World, Bark Box gift certificate, and so on. But what did I do? I did it in the search bar on the internet. I put in donation request, and could be um, Indiana. It could be a county. It could be a city. It could be a topic like environment or conservation. And what you'll see on some of these entities, they will have a donation request, but maybe some of the pillars um, that they support are not, they don't fit with us. So sometimes you have to read a little bit more. Like for instance, it could be a bank. So the bank is, they might be all in on helping with financial literacy, but they don't really focus on the environment, for instance. So sometimes you may have a hit on a donation request, but you have to look a little bit more about what they support. But sometimes it's open, and again, we've had a lot of good results from that. Sometimes you can, if you're at a restaurant or a family business retailer, maybe your local Wild Birds or Starbucks or McAllister's or Chipotle, what have you, you can ask them while you're there. And because on some of these, it's actually done at the local level, from Cheesecake Factory to your local donut shop. And many times they're happy to do that, and they have a budget for that, but it's managed at the local level. Um, you'd be surprised about what happens at the corporate level. So think of, some of you may work at a big corporate entity. I retired from one, and they encouraged people to volunteer, and they actually, sometimes matched volunteer hours with a donation, or you were able to influence where you wanted the volunteering to be. So, that's another option here, because those corporations have their CSR and sustainability initiatives, and sometimes they have budgets allocated for corporate giving. So with us having this the festival up at the dunes, we're looking at these things in Lake County, LaPorte County, Port, in that area, because there could be a fit for some of those, but it just takes a little bit of digging on that. But some of the digging I've already done, and I actually already have included the link for the donation form in the spreadsheet. Brad, I'm going to take a breath and see what you want to add to this.
Huh. Yeah, I was just thinking, here's a small example. I just learned that nonprofits that want to get donations from like the Indiana DNR, say like little entry passes that you see, those are kind of all accounted for, but they have a system for nonprofits where I can submit in, and if I want to purchase one, then I can get one then donated, matched basically for an auction. And so knowing that, I learned that about a year ago, that I wanted to get a couple annual passes for us for the year. And so I went ahead and contacted them. Hey, I need to get these two. I'm going to get them to you, and you'll mail them to me instead of at the park. But then I was able to get two more, and you'll see those in upcoming auctions. So there's a lot of different ways, diversity, just Googling these different businesses that interest you, that you visit, and you might learn of different giving programs that they have, with different varying complexities on receiving that. But a lot of them are just, easy online forms.
And the thank you. And the nice part of this too is that we have members from all over. Right. So we have members in, the majority of counties in Indiana, and Indiana Audubon is a statewide nonprofit. And so there may be something in your county or in your city that where you could get some gift certificates or something that could be worthwhile for the auction. There might be a great birding site that that may have something that could be, like a behind the scenes tour. Um, which reminds me, Brad, we should ask about that for Goose Pond, because I know I've seen that in some other conservation auctions. But there might be some kind of behind the scenes tour at XYZ location, from an orchard to a park, that could be fit for the auction. So try not to have too many filters on that. Um, I don't know, Brad. I think we're good on this. Go to the next slide. Okay, so I may have talked a little bit about this. So we've done a lot of the heavy lifting. Like I mentioned, we have this Google spreadsheet of this spreadsheet on Google Docs or Google Drive. Sorry about that. Um, and that I've got the links on. There's also some information that usually the forms ask for. They ask for the tax ID. Again, that's on this on the spreadsheet. They'll ask for the address. It's on there too. Sometimes they ask for the IRS letter that verifies that you're a 501c3. We've got that. We'll give that to you. I've got a template that's got wording already done with blanks that you can fill in. And so you don't have to be guessing and straining about what the verbiage is. And guess what? It can just be a pass through. When you're doing this, if you're doing an online application, you can just you can use my name, Mona Clayton, and you can use my email at Indiana Audubon on all the requests. So then when they respond, they're responding back to me, and obviously I'll let you know. But I'll get it. You don't have to worry about this, flood of confirmations and things like that. These extra emails that might come to your email box, you can just have it all be at my development at Indiana Audubon .org email, and it sort of takes it out of your hands. So we're sort of working by multiplication here, by hopefully recruiting some folks that are willing to do this, but you don't have to manage anything else after that. You just fill out the form, and we'll take care of the rest. And if you run into something where it's a question on how to do X or Y, just come back to me and I can help you with that. There are a few that may have a special portal. Usually the ones with the sporting teams have a special portal. I've already signed up for it. I already have the password. I've already got the history for that. So you generally don't have to do it. And if you want to sign up for the portal, obviously you can, but it's not necessary. Because we've either done it, or I'm happy to, you just do it, and then you can tell me what password you used, and I'll get informed of the rest. So what else, Brad, do you want to say about this part, or anything
I'll
else
give
that
you a
may
quick
come to
I can
mind?
give you a quick share, kind of show you what a snapshot of kind of what it looks like, real briefly. And I think that might be kind of a good kind of overview of where it looks like. But yeah, it's really, once we receive items, we have, solicitation centers, both at Mary Gray and up in Indiana Dunes. And there are volunteers that are also picking up items and keeping them stored. So a lot of that, even communication and routing, we take care of all that too. So it's not something really that we are expecting folks to solicit and then be able to gather and deliver and make sure it's at a site. But we get them, to those sites. We have volunteers that will kind of take it from there.
Brad, why don't we go to the Google Drive? This is a
Sure.
spreadsheet. Yeah, so any questions, feedback, suggestions, we're open for all of that. Like, we don't have like they do all end all on doing silent auctions of just passing along what has worked. And we set new records last year, and we hope to do that again this year. And actually, these strategies, it's not just something for Indiana Audubon. It could work for any nonprofit or group that you're working with on a silent auction. So what? Let's go to the top, Brad, where we can see the headings. So basically, what I did here, I'm going to slide these off so I can see. Yeah, thank you. So basically, this is my tracking sheet, my initial research that I did with donation request, and it's not all encompassing, but there's several things here. And I have a little color coding system. So and it, so I've got entity, when I requested it, when I got a response, what the item is. FMV stands for fair market value. What's the category, if anybody has it, if there was a contact email, and who solicited. And there's a few other columns to the right. So I put the website link here, and a few other notes. So going back to the left here, just to kind of walk you through, and I haven't completed everything in every column, but it's okay. I've done the main part of tracking. So green means, I requested it and I got a response back. So, State Fair, I requested it on the 9th. They told me back on the 12th. Boom, we got 4 tickets for you. Awesome. What are they going to do? They're going to mail them a gift certificate to Mary Gray. The Colts, that's in yellow. I asked on the 17th. I haven't heard back. Going on down. Indy Fuel, I heard from them. But you can see who haven't I done? I know I haven't done the symphony, Indianapolis Symphony, on line 9. On line 10 is Perfect North. It's a ski place down in southern Indiana, not far from Mary Gray. St. Louis Cardinals, I haven't done that yet. So like all of these, it doesn't mean like I have to do it. It just tells you what I've done so far, because I'm only doing 2 days, 2 a day. The red means either A, we heard from them and they're not going to participate, or B, after I looked into it a little bit more, I don't really think they're a fit. So like Top Golf, they usually sponsor within 40 miles of their location where the event is, and we're not meeting their criteria this year. So you can see all kinds of things here that we've been able to get or we've requested so far, whether it's green, yellow, or red. And some of the things we have pending until after the registration forms go out for the festival. Why? Well, we have a contractor, Sam Warren, that's taking care of the festival. And after registration gets going, then I'll get together with her probably sometime the week of March 4th, and we will compare who are some of the sponsors and who hasn't responded yet to commit to an auction item. And we'll also be able to get the list of guides, and we'll add them to this spreadsheet here. And I think there probably also could be there's some, Brad, that you have on your sheet that I don't have on mine, and that's totally fine, right? But this is sort of where the to-dos come from. And obviously this doesn't mean that you can't do your own to-dos, but if you do, then please put your to-do on this tracker so that we're all centralized on that. Brad, if you could, do you want to say anything about this?
No, I think you summarized it pretty good.
Okay, and then go to this tab. It says tax ID, address, and email. So here's the tax ID. I put the address in there, the telephone. And so you'll be asked for this information when you do a form. And so it's all here. Obviously, you can have your own mechanism on how it, maybe you memorize the stuff. I know I have the I know I have Mary Gray's address memorized by now after putting it in a few dozen times. But we have it here as a help. And I'll also, add to this. I think I can add a file to this, or I can send it to you with the template that I use for the wording on this, and I have it worded that it's coming from me, and then I'm a board member, and then I'm a volunteer, and I'm the chair of the development committee, and we have this birding festival, and in last year we had more than 1,100 people there from 24 states and international locations, and obviously they can see then that we're going to have more than 1,000 people there. I include our website address. I include that we have over 11,000 people or connections on Facebook. So there's some, metrics on there that are important to some of these recipients for them to be able to evaluate whether or not they want to provide something for the auction. Um, Brad, what do you think about just going to 2023 for reference, just for a moment? And here we had different categories that we used, and so you'll see we have everything from mugs to books to experiences. And we created a birding thing as well with all of the different feeders that we got. But when you get down to experiences, just look here. Obviously, we include some things from Indiana Audubon as experiences because that's relevant. But we had sometimes there's some special birds that people aren't able to see, like black rails. You know, um, the sky's the limit on here. We did find a travel provider that we can get more commission from on some trips. And so for this year, we're going to have a variety of different trips and the different auctions. Last year, we had things from Michigan getaway to a trip to Costa Rica for two. So this year we'll have a similar variety, except we'll be able to get a little bit more commission on that. And there are some experiences on some of those trips that we'll be able to sell more than one time. So, Brad, I'm going to toss this back to you. What do you want to add?
Yeah, really, I think that really kind of shows just the variety of different offerings and that there's so much potential and that every item shouldn't be dismissed. And so whether it's small or high value, there's often interest and availability of folks that want to support Indiana Audubon and with folks that like the Dunes Fest with 1,100 folks there, there's a lot of different interests too that really cover a wide spectrum. And so there's a lot of ways that folks can continue to help Indiana Audubon, whether it be going to the forums and soliciting from the items, talking to your own friends, checking your own closet, looking for things that may have been normally outside of the box of thinking. And so the number one step is we want folks that want to help out and to get them into the spreadsheet and to get in contact with Mona through the development@indianaaudubon.org email, and then we can give them access so they can see it, start generating some ideas, maybe even adding a couple. And with us going from now until May, this isn't, it's something, well, hey, I'm going to go on there even, once or twice a week and kind of look and see if I can shoot off a couple asks and see if they'll get a return that it's really easy to go, wow, there was $1,000 of stuff just got donated completely to help out these programs and projects that I support.
And sometimes businesses just give coupons. They don't give an entire gift certificate. So Crew Car Wash, they'll send $5 gift certificates. And you can do this to the Crew Car Wash in your neighborhood. And I did one to mine, and I heard back the very same day, and they'll send those to Mary Gray. And think about how many times you go birding, okay, and you're down a gravel road, and you use the wiper on your back windshield, and it just has a little arc imprint back there. So people will, they'll, a lot of us have cars. Not everyone rides public transportation or rides bikes, although I'm all in on that too. It's a variety of different things, and I'm sure those coupons will go in a basket with something else.
Yeah, similar example is Gordon Food Service. We had someone write in to try to get a donation specifically for the Dune Birding Festival, and they were able to provide like a 10% off kind of coupon rather than a flat value. And then that's able to be used, all the pastries that you eat at breakfast time come from there and are able to be purchased at a discount.
And that's awesome. So every little bit helps here because it's all for the birds, right? We're trying to keep the common birds from, being threatened, and rare birds, and we're trying to keep the rare birds off the rare bird list, okay, and to come up on the list and to be threatened and common rather than be extinct. So it's all we're all in on the birds and the conservation of them and their habitat, and all the money from the silent auction is going for those programs.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think it's all about just kind of finding ways to kind of unlock generosity for folks that are looking for ways to give more and finding new ways to do that. And so wanting to help support our fundraising through silent auctions and raffles is a fun way to do it. So whether you're watching it in person or watching this recording, again, if you are interested in helping out and you're just getting into it, I mentioned that we do have on our Indiana Audubon contact us page. There's a where not only can you just submit a random message to us, but you can sign up for volunteer opportunities if you're looking to give in those sorts of ways. And of course, if you want to help out here, development at indianaaudubon.org, and that's how we would get you started.
And if you know me, you can reach out. And even if you don't
Great.
know me, please reach out.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's been we've taken just about an hour there, kind of talking about different ways that folks can help out with the upcoming season. Spring migration started. I was hearing birds flying overhead, so I know that the festivals and the auctions are coming, and a lot of great projects that we'll see in 2024 with Indiana Audubon, and your help is crucial to that. So I want to thank everyone for watching this, and hope to see you here around the spring season. Thanks, everybody.